Welcome, everybody, to TubPreneurs. I am your host, John Uplegger with Vision Consulting, helping businesses identify and communicate their values and vision so they can move forward with velocity towards their goals. Super excited today to have Corey Geer, both a friend, business associate, and more, with me in the tub today. He is the CFO, Chief Financial Officer,
correct,
of Atlas Space Operations, which works with some pretty big name stuff. That's kind of crazy. Like, tell how the heck did you get working with a company that literally does business with NASA?
Well, it's like any good story. It starts off with, the connections that you've made over time. And I reached out to my network back in kind of May, early June. I had been doing some CFO consulting myself and decided, for me, I really wanted to join a team again. I think there's some people that are born and bred for consulting, and there's others that appreciate the idea of being on a team every day, playing the game for people that you care about. And so for me, that's my MO. I really enjoy being on a team, and just like sports,
Yeah. Yep.
versus hopping around, So I reached out to my network. Actually, it was only a couple folks at the time, and it just so happens Atlas was looking for a CFO, and lucked out. A local friend was having a conversation with the CEO, and he mentioned they were looking for a CFO, and she knew I was looking, and that's how it worked out. So yeah, Atlas is a very cool company that's doing some cutting edge software technology. We're in what's called the data transmission or communication business, data backhaul. So we take satellite data and bring it down to Earth and distribute it to the people that need it.
Wow, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
So CFO, I love this idea because I know when we first kind of connected more on a business level and started talking more, you kind of had this title of like part-time CFO.
Sure.
And I always kind of chuckled at that because, whenever I think of CFO, I think of the team structure, right? Like high paid executive, that sort of thing. What got you into really this role as, hey, I'm going to go around and just try out being a CFO part-time for different businesses?
For multiple companies? Yeah. I think it was just more the experience I had generated over 20 years of doing this. I started off my career as an analyst in mergers and acquisitions, so got a really good foundation for financial statement analysis, what it looked like for companies to combine, and kept leapfrogging my career and was in different industries. I think in my career, I've helped raise over $100 million of venture capital funds.
Wow.
Yeah. And probably an additional 50 million in debt financing. So whether it's equipment or companies growing via debt capital, which is basically money that's lent to the company. I thought that it would be a good segue to work with multiple companies and help them with their needs. And there's a lot of CFOs that end up doing that. And again, I think if it's your calling to do that, and that's what you feel like you're compelled to do, working with multiple companies versus one, then go for it. And what I found out is that I really enjoy being on a team, and that's where the quote unquote CFO of a company comes back into play. And I like that. I really enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah. So that's cool. And I mean, I love the fact that you're paying attention to like, what's my passion? What am I actually wanting to do? Because I think a lot of times, and I know I've felt this before too, is like we feel like if we have an entrepreneurial mindset, that means we have to go it alone, right?
Sure.
We have to be at the top. We have to be the ones who are making all the decisions. When in reality, like joining an executive team or joining a company that you can partner alongside,
Yes,
and grow through that can help you to kind of flex those entrepreneurial muscles, but do it through a team structure as well. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. And there's a term that's used. It's called intrapreneur versus entrepreneur, where within a team you can have the ability to have a huge impact on the company's ability to grow. But you're doing it in a way where you feel like you have ownership of that, whether you're in, let's say, product management, you're doing a different product line, or any division within a company, you can have an impact as a quote unquote entrepreneur. And so that's another thing that I've gravitated toward, is I have a lot of entrepreneurial instincts, and I think I'm most effective when I'm on a team. So and there's others that they get to a point in their career where they want to experience, their own schedule, the flex of not having to go into an office. And again, that's for all of us to decide, whether that's something you want to do or not. And you have to experiment too. For me, it was an experiment the last year and a half being on my own. And I got to the point where it was, the excitement of going to bat every day for people that you care about was more important than having the flex schedule, I guess you could say.
I love that. And I love the fact that you pointed out the intrapreneur versus entrepreneur, because that's something like, for a long time, the last 4 years of my life, I spent as that intrapreneur.
Sure. And
really being able to jump in and join a team and grow a company from the inside out. And those can be great places to be. And you mentioned like a lot of that came from the network that you had and kind of putting yourself out there, letting people know, hey, I'm interested in joining a team again.
Yep.
And then you have this opportunity that kind of laid itself out there for you, almost like the universe kind of conspired for your success, right?
Yeah. So I could go into that. So one of the things that I've picked up recently, and when I say recent, probably May of 2021, I really got into trying to understand what meditation was all about, what visioning was all about from a personal perspective. I understood it from a company perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And laying out, quote unquote, a vision, which oftentimes, in a company setting can be bureaucratic. The vision gets diluted.
Yeah.
Maybe not. By the way, I recommend another. So there's a book I recommend. It's called The Fish That Ate the Whale.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a.
He's jumping ahead of me, boys and girls.
No,
He's already on the book recommendation. It's not even the one we talked about.
Yeah, no. So this one, this book in particular, talks about how back when bananas were big. This is kind of funny. Yeah, I know we're already getting into bananas. So the banana industry really developed around the turn of the century, into the 1900s, and there was a gentleman that basically helped create the banana industry in the United States. And so he had a vision for what he wanted to do, and it was a company that he created to do it. That was his vehicle to exercising his vision. So I think a lot of times within a company, visions can get diluted, and it takes sometimes a very strong owner or CEO to maintain that strong vision to drive a company forward. And there's lots of examples of companies that have done this.
Yeah.
Personally, I had never really set an incredibly strong vision for what it was for my life that I wanted.
Right.
So I got into meditation in May of 2021, and I started to lay out what I wanted for my life. And I will say that within the meditation process, you come to an idea eventually that there's way more out there than you can conceive in your brain. And the idea that everything is going to work out better than possibly expected means that you're willing to accept the idea that you don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And when I put out there it was it was early June of 2022 that I wanted to join a team as a CFO. I was literally hired and in my first meetings on July 11th as a CFO, which is like almost unheard of. Like as far as like the timing of that. And I would highly recommend for anybody that's listening that if you have something that you really are passionate about and that you really want to do, that you can actually put out there the idea and accept the idea that it's going to happen in a way that you could possibly not imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I have worked with the same coach, and Ken Scott.
He's been on the podcast actually. So if you want to, like, I'm sure Corey's going to double click into some of this as is right now, which is awesome. But if you want just a whole podcast devoted to this, like, go check out Ken Scott when he was in the tub with us. But please continue.
Ken was instrumental in me, for me to help me understand the power of quantum theory and quantum mechanics. And the idea that we're all connected and, across the universe, and it's incredibly powerful stuff. So I've started to create this vision of my life and what I want to do. And I can't tell you how amazing it has been to be at Atlas and to be accepted there and to be part of a team where we fit from a personality perspective.
Right.
So, yeah.
I hope you guys really picked up on the key point that Corey made there, as far as if there's something that you feel that you want or you'd like to see happen in your life, put it out there. Just get it out there, because at the end of the day, this is, some people call it the woohoo stuff or the, like the weird stuff or whatnot. But at the end of the day, there's so much that we don't know about the world around us and the universe that we live in. And at the end, it's all conspiring for you. So if you want to go out and get a job as a CFO and you say, okay, this is what I want to do, this is the team I'm looking for, this is the people that I want to get around, I have this vision of being a part of this, and to finding out what that is, it's going to come. Those opportunities are going to come. And Corey, it's funny, I shared a story when we had Ken in the tub about this happening to me before I even knew what the heck it was.
Sure.
Back, this was 2008, I think.
Yeah.
I remember every day I had started working for Aflac, just getting my feet wet in this insurance thing. And every day I passed this insurance agency and it had this blue sign and it was really cool. And I'm like, man, I want to work there. I have no idea why I wanted to work there, but I want to work there. Right. And I just kept, every day I was just putting it out there. Like, I want to work here. I want to work here. I want to work here. I think I even told my wife at the time, hey, I want to work here. And then this really weird thing happened where there was an ad, and it was from this company, and they said, hey, we're looking for an experienced property and casualty agent with a book of business to come join our team, bring their book of business over. And I was like, hey, there it is. I'm not an experienced P&C agent. I don't even have my property and casualty license. I have virtually zero customers I can bring over.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't that successful at Aflac. I had literally everything that they said they wanted, I did not have. And I went, cool, here's my chance. And I went in, and I remember the agency principal sitting across from me during this interview, and he goes, John, you're not what I'm looking for. He's like, you're greener than green. I'm looking for an experienced agent, but
sure,
I don't know why I think I need to hire you. And I was like, are you kidding me? So there's a reality here, guys, that maybe you don't understand how it's going to happen yet, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to put it out there, though, and you have to trust that the universe is going to conspire to make you right. By the way, a really important point with this, it works the other way too. If you constantly put out there negative energy, victim mentality, my life sucks, everything wrong happens to me, the same thing will happen. The universe will conspire to make you right.
Yeah. And I will add to that part of my foundational belief is, my relationship with God too. Mm-hmm. And we are taught in the church, no matter what your denomination or what your specific religious belief is that God is way more than we could possibly imagine.
Right.
So I have been able to cross-reference when we say universe, or we think of quantum physics or quantum mechanics, and we are trying to reconcile our maybe some of our dogmatic beliefs with the idea that maybe we don't know everything, and that God is bigger, is I've been able to reconcile the two by saying part of my growth in the last year and a half, especially the last year and a half, has been this ability to say God is way more than we think.
Yes.
And whether it's one universe or an infinite number of universes, we really don't know, that you can tap into that. You
Absolutely.
can tap into that. And for some of us, maybe we came through the church. Maybe some of us did not. But I wholeheartedly believe there's a crossover there that we can't ignore. And so I wanted to say that, just in case somebody is out there thinking, well, I'm a God-fearing person, and this universe stuff doesn't make sense to me. And my response would be, yes, but we're also taught that God is more than we can possibly imagine. So imagine that whatever that what was created is, we can tap into that in more ways than we can possibly know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
absolutely. And I would second that, right?
Yep.
Being a Christian myself, obviously the podcast isn't about preaching at you or anything like that. But if you are struggling with that, and maybe your faith is Christianity, keep in mind that Jesus himself said, you're going to do greater miracles than I did. And I say a lot of that has to do with understanding that there's a whole lot more that we don't understand. And being open to that is just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. And so there's so I know that there's been other guests on, and they've talked about, I think it was Bill Marsh Jr. talked about the gap in the gain, talking about the gain. And sometimes these gains are evidence. So you're looking for evidence that it's working. So I would say for anybody that is, looking for evidence that so look back in your past and say, when were things working, and what mindset was I in when things were working? And if you can tap into that emotion, and you can tap into that I guess sometimes logic of why it was working. So think about the emotion that you were in, think about why it was working, and then re-tap into that if you're in a place where you're stuck, especially whether you're an entrepreneur that's starting a business, or you're somebody that's looking for a job, or you're not happy with your current environment. Go back to those points where things felt like they clicked, and get back into that emotion of, and I would describe that emotion as, sometimes people feel like you're in control. You're never really in control. It's a false feeling. It's more, are you feeling aligned with yourself?
Yeah.
Are you feeling aligned with, and it could be your vision, if that's how you want to be aligned, could be the future self that you want to talk to and say, if I could talk to my future self 10 years from now, and I was in alignment with what I wanted to be and I wanted to do, how would I feel?
Yeah.
How would I feel in that situation? And most of the time you're going to feel, the feelings are joy, peace, freedom. But this idea of being in alignment is super important.
Yeah, I would agree. I was talking with Ken. I think this is going to end up being just a podcast about Ken, and I want to talk in a minute. I've got a question for you about mentoring, because I have a feeling there's some of that going on.
Oh yeah.
But as I was talking with him, he mentioned this idea of coherence, right? Like, I'm going to, we're actually working with a company that he's creating right now. And one of the things that he kind of found was, like, we're going to show up in a constant state of coherence. So every time that we show up to talk to somebody, we're going to be in coherence. And that's kind of what you're talking about, is really aligning that self, so that you can go out there and you can be coherent, not only to what your inward feelings are and who you're being in that moment, but outwardly, what does that look like in the environment that you're in as well?
Absolutely. I mean, so he, one of the stories that has resonated with me that he has shared that I have now has become a foundational belief is, when you're in coherence with yourself and you're in alignment with yourself, and you're every day waking up saying today I'm going to move toward my vision, and I know who I am, is the story of Tom Brady. So I'm a Michigan grad. Yes.
Go blue.
Yeah. Go blue. And my entire family went to Michigan State. So, so I have a little bit of, go green, go white in me. I've been to plenty of Michigan State games. So for anybody that here that's a Spartan, go green, go white.
But if you're an OSU fan, we're not going to say that.
Yeah. Yes. Although they haven't beaten Michigan now in 3 years. So anyway, where was I going with that?
I think you were starting to talk about, so you're a Michigan grad.
The Tom Brady story. Yeah,
Tom Brady.
Very good. Yeah. So Tom Brady. So if somebody comes up to Tom Brady and says, you know what, you're going to throw 5 interceptions this game and you're not going to make it to the Super Bowl this year, is that going to affect Tom Brady?
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Because he doesn't let outside influence, outside people. And in fact, he talks about his draft story where he was drafted, I believe, 6th round. And, he wasn't really, the scouts didn't believe in him. Maybe he was an outside chance at a starting position eventually someday in the NFL, maybe. But that's not what Tom Brady believed. And so he did not allow outside influence to impact his ability to perform.
Right.
And he still doesn't, and he never will. And that outside influence has affected all of us.
Yes.
All of us at some point, whether it's your parents or your siblings or the friends that you hang out with. You've got to be able to compartmentalize that and let it wash over you or blow by you and say thank you for the feedback, and then move about your day. So my point there is that you're going to be at your best when you really figure out who you are as a person. And for anybody who's watching that's 20, they might not exactly know, but they are a version of themselves right now that they want to be, and they know where they want to head.
Yep.
So don't let outside influence impact where you want to go. And that might touch on maybe another subject we want to get into, which is mentors.
Yeah.
Outside influences that you do want to let in.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And I can't stress enough. So as a parent of 4 children that are between the ages of 13 and 7 now, I can't stress enough to them that I don't have all the answers, even though Dad and the business Corey, and I want to have all the answers for them, right? But they each have their own North Star. What I call in our family our Dharma, which is a reference to the Bhagavad Gita, which please look it up if you don't know it.
I'm not familiar with it, so.
It's a great story of Arjuna, who was an archer, the greatest warrior and of his time, and he was conflicted because do you live out your Dharma or your North Star, or do you protect your family? Yeah. And what it came down to was that Arjuna basically picked the side of, I need to live out my North Star, I need to live out my Dharma. He was going to be fighting his cousins and his family in a battle, and he didn't want to, but he decided that he was going to, because it was his North Star. And we all have to come to that point in our life where we have to make that decision, and you can't escape who you are as a person and where you want to go. You just can't.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be absolutely miserable.
Well, and this actually, it takes me back. There's so many good points with what you said, and it brought up so many thoughts in my mind as well. Another story that touches on this kind of same concept, not as gruesome, but is the idea of The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson.
Okay.
And it's a story of a nobody named ordinary from the land of familiar. And it talks about him being given this dream from the dream giver and going out to try to basically pursue this dream. And at one point in the story, as he finally pushes outside of the comfort zone and through that invisible wall, if you will, he reaches the border bullies. And it's all of these people who he loves and love him dearly that are trying to hold him back and say, no, don't go do this. It's not safe. It's, it's dangerous. It's risky, yada, yada. And they're not like, he's heard about these border bullies and he thought they were just random bullies, that were there to push you around and be a jerk. And when he gets out there, he realizes it's his mom. It's his brother.
Yeah.
It's his uncle. It's all of these people who love and care for him deeply, but they don't want him to go out and pursue his dream. And so it's kind of a similar story there. But one of the things that helps the dream, helps this ordinary or the ordinary to move past this is a champion who's already been through this and now comes back to help other nobodies who have a dream to push through. And that's kind of where I see the mentor. There's the idea behind you're the average of the 5 people who are the closest to you.
Yep.
And if you think about the friend group that you keep, the people that you associate with the most, where do you rank? Where would you rank yourself as far as success compared to them? Happiness compared to them? Family life compared to them? The amount of money that they're making compared, like how much you're making compared to them? If you're starting to find that you're the most successful and the smartest person in the room, you have the wrong friend group. You need to get some mentors that can help you to move in a positive direction that are a little bit further down the line than you.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the things that got me thinking about mentors, because it sounds like you maybe have done some mentoring that helped open you up to this meditation piece.
Yep.
Maybe through coaching. And from our discussions, it seems like you're someone who's very open to coaching. Can you kind of talk about what you've done as far as like having a coach in your life and how they've helped you?
Yeah. So I'll go two directions with that is that there are mentors that can be considered maybe lateral mentors, which is they are presently at the same I would say level as you.
Okay.
So maybe similar success, similar age, similar background, but they have a specialty that is different than yours. So my specialty is capital raising, finance, macroeconomics, capital structure in businesses, financial modeling, things of that nature, right? So I have a skill set, but I have a lateral counterpart, and we'll use Ken as the example. Is he is similar age, similar experience, but his skill set is meditation and vision setting and emotional and spiritual alignment. And so he is a mentor to me in that he brings a skill set that I was unaware of before I engaged him as a mentor. Mm-hmm. Okay. There are other mentors that are, I would say, way above you, which it is a term that we use from a societal perspective to say this person has more experience. Maybe they've been more successful financially. Maybe they have a much busier schedule and they're out there doing their thing. Those are the mentors that you want, that you're aspiring to be. So as a CFO, there are mentors out there that are at the CEO level. There are CFOs of multi-billion-dollar companies, right? That I would aspire to be that level. That I would consider mentors kind of upwardly, and then you've got mentors laterally that you want to improve your skill sets in certain areas. I would also suggest that if there is somebody who's holding you accountable and they are a very good friend that you do not want to eliminate from your friend group.
Yeah, very much.
That is not maybe as, they're not motivated from a monetary perspective, nor do they want to be the best CFO, nor do they want to be the best spiritual counterpart to you. that they would be somebody who I would consider an accountability mentor. So because the one thing that has bothered me about kind of the five people you're around with, is that do they all have to be way above you, quote unquote, way above you, versus, and I would suggest not, that you have goals and aspirations that are different from them, but they hold you accountable for how you want to be as a person. The best man, the best father, the best friend, the best relationship builder. So mentors come in all shapes and sizes, but I cannot stress enough, like you said, how important it is to have people in your life that want to see you succeed.
Exactly.
And then you have to listen to them.
Yep.
You got to listen to them.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't listen
That's
to them,
the
like,
hard part, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You say, well, what do you know? Yeah, I'll do it my own way. And I will say, from an early age, 22, 23, 24, I felt like I knew everything, and that's kind of in your early 20s. That's how you feel. You know?
I was same way.
Yeah.
Same way. It honestly, it actually took a mentor in my life for me to realize, hey, John, you're not that smart. I consider myself a very smart guy, but at the end of the day, like, I never want to get to the point where I'm the smartest person in the room.
Sure.
Because it means either A, I'm wrong about something, right? Because if I'm unwilling to be open to other viewpoints and to listen, then there is no way for me to grow. So if I feel I'm the smartest person in the room, that's actually a good time for me to reflect on myself. Because I think everybody has something to bring. And I love how you described your kind of issue with the five people around you. I think it was a much better explanation than I gave too, because again, these folks might not necessarily be more successful than you in every area of your life. But like you said, a lot of times with mentors, they have something to offer. They know something more than you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I would look at other people to help me with my weight and fitness goals, because clearly I'm not at the level where I want to be yet. So getting around other people who are a little further along in that regard, maybe they don't have the same drive for business as I do. Maybe they don't have, I don't even know what their financial situation would be, but it doesn't really matter if they're helping me with this particular thing. But I do think, there's a certain point where, when you're taking somebody as a mentor, think about the fruit that's on their tree.
Yep.
Right. If somebody, I see this all the time, people trying to give financial advice when they were just telling me how broke they are and they can't afford something.
Yeah. That's a good example.
Look for people that have had success in areas that you want to grow. You have something you can learn from them, and they might have something that they can learn from you. But just be aware, like, it doesn't mean that they know everything or that you know everything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And at some point, it does come down to self-accountability, self-discovery, trusting yourself. So here's another concept that's been, this is relatively new to me, is the idea that, okay, so let's pretend that people aren't in the room, the five. Can you envision that they are in the room? So let's say we're in the hot tub here. And by the way, you guys, this hot tub is not incredibly hot for a reason, because if it was, there's no way we'd be sitting here right now. It's John's got it at a very nice temperature, very comfortable. So we're not here like
we've had some where we were dying.
Yeah, so he's got it dialed in here pretty good. This is very comfortable. If you're able to put the five people in the room, and you said to yourself, okay, if they were in the room or in the hot tub with me right now, what would they tell me? And this is part of self-discovery, which is, so I've talked about being in alignment with yourself. Externally you can trust other people, and then internally you have to learn to trust yourself. So, and that comes down to self-accountability. And so it's self-discovery, self-accountability. Are you able to achieve at least some milestones yourself to get you to where you want to be? And we all struggle in various areas there. Some of us are good at making money. Some of us are good at have six-pack abs and being in great shape, right? Some of us are good at eating the best foods. Some of us are good at being fathers or friends and building relationships. And I think until you start to realize like that it's a combination of external accountability and internal accountability, that's when you make the most gains. Can I trust myself in this deal?
Yeah.
Can I trust myself? And for me, there's been times where that it's like a loose cannon. It's like, yeah, you don't have maybe the external accountability that you need to stay in alignment. You don't have the internal accountability to stay in alignment. So there's a balance there that we all have to be able to find. And I don't think it's a new concept for people to realize, for me or you or whoever's listening to realize that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have 5 people in the room that are giving you a pathway forward. And I don't want to underestimate it because it's super, super important. And there are gazillions of examples of people that have become successful because of who they knew and
right.
And you've also got to become accountable to yourself.
Right.
So
I would agree with you. And I love how you kind of mentioned that, like, if those 5 people aren't in the room with you, envision them in the room. And the kind of thought that came to mind with that is kind of, as you're envisioning those folks in the room with you, those people that would be the 5 people that are going to help push you forward, what would they say?
Sure.
What would they say? Hey, this is areas that you need help in or you need accountability in. It actually kind of takes me back to one of the things that I used to love asking potential employees. A lot of folks will, when they're interviewing potential employees, they'll ask them, what's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness?
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, we're all gonna really try to make ourselves sound great as possible. When
my biggest weakness is I work too hard.
I'm too hard working. I've noticed I'm just too organized. I'm a little OCD and very, very, perfect.
Yeah.
But when you switch up that question just a little bit and you say, hey, if I were to call your supervisor right now, what would they say is your greatest strength and weakness?
Sure.
If I were to ask the guy that you work side by side with for 20 years, what would they say?
Yeah.
It actually changes how we perceive it in our brain, because now all of a sudden we're going, well, how are we being perceived?
Yep.
What are people noticing? And it allows us to be a little bit more honest, I think, because I think we're our greatest deceivers a lot of times.
For sure.
And that goes back to knowing yourself, right? I don't remember who it was, but whoever said, know thyself, Socrates or Aristotle or whatever, know thyself is so important, because you've got to understand what you're good at. You got to understand what you're not so good at, and you got to be open to correction in these areas.
Yeah. That's and then understanding maybe where some gaps are.
Yeah.
So if you are, so if anybody listening wants to be a CFO, for example, so I have a couple of people that I've mentored that have become CFO since I've met.
Okay.
Yeah. And others that have done some really cool stuff, owning their own business or CEOs. And you've got to understand where your gaps are, because if you do not attain the skill that's required to become a CFO or to become a business owner or to go raise $100 million, you've got to recognize that and seek out those skills that's required. Okay. So a bench press. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Do you know how to bench press effectively to get pecs, or do you know how to deadlift correctly to not hurt yourself? Which, by the way, I haven't figured out yet. I've hurt myself probably 3 times. I've put myself out of commission because I don't know how to deadlift properly.
Yeah. And I had to have somebody show me how to bench lift properly because I was doing it wrong.
Yeah. If you're doing things wrong and you don't have the skill, you can't build on that skill.
Right.
And who's the Hermosi, Alex Hermosi, Mosey Nation? Big time podcaster.
Apparently, I didn't listen to this guy.
Yeah, well,
Alex, if you're listening.
Yeah, Alex. So $100 million of business revenue. He's out there on YouTube as well. So one of his big philosophies is that early in life, you can start developing the skills that build on each other that then create more wealth or more leverage, I guess you could say. And I mean, you can't just go apply for CFO jobs and not have the skill set to be a CFO.
Right.
You can't apply to be a fitness trainer if you don't have the skill to be a fitness trainer. So there is the idea that you've got to go acquire the skills as well. And I guess where I'm going with that is that that counterbalances the idea that you can just put stuff out there and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You've also got to be on a trajectory where you're learning the skills and you are creating an environment for yourself that allows you to be successful in what you put out there.
Well, and I think they do kind of go in alignment too, because part of putting it out there is also bringing yourself into alignment with that vision, that goal. And that's something you talked a lot about at the start was, the vision. What is it, the vision that you have for your future self? And then you start making the little things that you need to do. You start becoming that person. You start thinking more like that person. You seek out those opportunities to learn those skills that you're going to need. You start doing research on, hey, if I want to be a CFO, what do I need to know? If I want to become a fitness trainer, what do I need to know? If I want to be a bodybuilder, what do I need to know? And you start to seek this stuff out. And then I think you start seeking out, and the universe brings you mentors that are going to help push you towards those goals.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And there may be some people watching that want to know, okay, well, what skills, like, how do I go about that?
Right.
And I think that's all in the discovery phase. And learning how to be curious, learning to put yourself out there to ask the right questions. I mean, if you're in an environment where there's 200 people in the room, are you willing to stand up to ask the questions that need to be asked to move your venture forward, or whatever it is that you want to do in life, move it forward. And you're not going to get what you need out of YouTube, even though we're on YouTube, right? You're going to get ideas. You're going to get inspiration. You're going to get self-reflection. But at the end of the day, you gotta put yourself out there, and you gotta go meet people. You've got to be in a position where you're talking one-on-one, or you're in a group setting that you're participating and contributing to the conversation. And one thing that does scare me about today's world is that, whether it's my kids or I'm thinking about people that are maybe in their early 20s, is that they've lived in a world where so much has been digitally delivered. And frankly, you're not going to experience life by listening to YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got to put yourself out there. My best coaching conversations I've had, my best mentorship, whether I'm talking to a mentor or I'm helping mentor people, is not over Zoom. It's not over YouTube. And I can't stress enough how important it is to just go out there and be relational, be social, be somebody who wants to be out front, have that personal conversation. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to sound like an idiot at times, but most people who are willing to give their time already understand the reciprocal benefits of that.
Right.
And they're going to want to give their time if you're open to it. So
it's kind of the thing that popped into my head as you were saying this is success is not a solo sport. It's a team sport, and you have to have people around you. And I love what you said as far as there's so much. We live in the information age, right?
Yep.
It's so easy for me to open Google, open YouTube, open Spotify, listen to this podcast, and get all these ideas and good things that are going to help me move forward in my life. But at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. And really, success is not a solo sport. It's a team sport. So you have to get around people. There's no such thing as success in a vacuum. It doesn't happen. You have to have people, whether they're buying your product, being a part of your team, giving you, mentoring you to bring you up. There are people involved in every aspect of your life, and you have to be good at talking with them. And it kind of makes me think about the importance of EQ over IQ.
Yeah.
So everybody, the idea of IQ, your intelligence quotient, it's set when you're born, which that's debatable. But EQ is your emotional quotient, and it's how well can you relate with people? How good are your people skills? How much empathy do you have? How much compassion do you have? How much ability do you have to hear a idea different from yours and not be closed-minded to it, not immediately shut down or get upset? And I think what we see a lot of times right now in the world is a whole lot of people who have very low EQ and have no idea how to understand people because they do it all through the veil of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our relationship skills are developed when we're kids, and it might have been our parents that taught us our relationship skills, and maybe our parents weren't the best role models for that, and we've got to step into something new to understand that about ourselves. Yeah, I can't stress enough how much parents have influenced our upbringing, whether it was a single parent, multiple parents, siblings, uncles, grandparents. We only know what we were born into, I guess you could say. And I think that we are all given at least some form of curiosity to seek something new, whether it's instinctual because we're all trying to survive and learn things that are new. And you can never, ever let go of that curiosity.
Yeah.
Ever. And curiosity is well, there's the saying, curiosity killed the cat, right? But that's a terrible expression.
That's why the cat has 9 lives, by the way.
Yeah, no. Right.
It is, though. It is a terrible expression.
It's a terrible expression because the curiosity is what also fed the cat, right? Like finding something new or something that was unexpected because you were looking.
Yeah.
You were open to the idea that, man, maybe I don't know what's going on. Because you really don't. Like I don't feel like I do either. There is the expression that the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Totally true.
Absolutely.
100%. Now that is something. So you get curious, you find something new, and you're like, oh, I was curious. I found something new. It's effective. It's bringing me joy or peace or it's excitement. Maintaining a level of curiosity and always thinking that. So this also goes along with the meditation and believing that there's more that you can possibly imagine and there's better ways out there than you could possibly know. Just accepting that. And now that I'm 46, you naturally, I think it starts to go away.
Yeah.
Like this idea of being curious. And I have fought it tooth and nail, totally fought it, because I don't know everything. And because sometimes when you do think you know everything, it gets you in trouble. Mm-hmm. Totally gets you. And I guarantee you there's others out there that are listening that can appreciate that because I thought I knew and I didn't, and it hurt. Yeah. Because one time I did it this way and it worked, and I wish I would have known to do it another way. I just think that it serves people when they open. Okay, here's another idea. I am teaching my kids the idea of optionality. Okay. So this is the idea that if you could talk to your future self, which we've talked a little bit about that, if you can talk to your future self, let's just say somebody's 18 right now or 16, and they're not sure they want to go to college, or they're not sure what college they want to go to, or they might want to go into a career or start a business, or which I think is a real possibility in today's day and age.
Right.
You do not need to go to college to be a success in life.
I would agree.
Or quote unquote success, whatever the definition is for you or others in society. You do not need to go to college to be a success. This idea of, okay, would my future self want to have options versus me narrowing down the choices to where I don't have options? And I would argue that creating optionality is way more valuable than setting a specific course that you're not sure of, even though you think you might be, you're not sure of.
Yeah.
And like kids struggle with, if they're good athletes, do I want to go to a D1 school? Do I maybe want to play professional sports? Do I maybe want to be a doctor?
Right.
Like they don't know. So maintaining that optionality is super important. Does a company want to sell? Does a company want to grow its cash flow? Maybe you do both. Maybe you set yourself up for both. Maybe 100% of my investments are in equities, are in the stock market. Does that create optionality 3 or 5 years from now? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not, because you're putting your eggs all in one basket. What if the stock market falls 50% from here? And now you reduce your optionality for the future. So I would say that this idea of being curious, of being open to new ideas, being open to a life that you want to imagine, but you're not quite sure how to get there. I think this idea of optionality is an underlooked or underappreciated viewpoint that can only serve us well for the future.
Yeah, I love that idea too. And I've never heard it put that way, as this idea of optionality, but it's so true. Like keeping your options open, being willing to make moves when they present themselves. Just because you thought that, oh, I'm going to be the doctor, or I'm going to be whatever it is that you had it in your mind that you're going to be, you might even get to that point and find out that's really not what you want. I mean,
yeah.
I have a good friend of mine whose wife was a dentist.
Yep.
And she went through all this schooling. They bought a dental practice, and 3-4 years into the practice, they realized, oh, I don't think I actually want to do this. Yeah. I don't really like what my life looks like as a dentist. It's not what I thought it was. And they ended up creating their own options, right? So they got to a point where they sold the practice.
Yep.
And he went on to start a new business doing real estate investing, which he absolutely loves now. And his wife is now able to be a stay-at-home mom because that's what she wants.
Sure.
That's where her passion lies. And they just had to find that option. But they struggled a lot with this idea of optionality because, well, I went to school for it.
Right.
It cost me $300,000 or whatever it costs. You know, it's insane. The other thing that I love that you picked up on, and I hope you guys heard this, the idea of curiosity killed the cat doesn't quite explain the full story, because, as Corey pointed out, curiosity also fed the cat. And that to me was like a click. Like, wait a second. That's so true. Yes, there's fear sometimes in the unknown. There's risk in the unknown. But I will tell you that whatever it is you're trying to get out of life, whatever it is that you have aligned your vision with, that you say, I want this, it's going to happen in the unknown. It's going to happen with you being a different person than you are today.
Yes.
It's going to happen with something changing today or tomorrow, and you don't know what that is going to be. And that's what's scary. That's why we saw so many people who would the baby boomer generation, a lot of them had the same job for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And most of them didn't even like it.
Yeah. I mean, how about the idea that if your emotional vision is to be happy, which isn't really an emotion, like joy and excitement and this idea of freedom that we all crave, like insatiably. We don't want to feel like we're beholden to something.
Yep.
You have to be comfortable with the unknown.
Yes.
Because it might be that those emotional feelings that you want to participate in your life don't come from money, for example, don't come from having $1 billion or whatever it is that you think you want right now. And it's awesome when I see people find their they start. Well, for me, for example, okay, I'm going to take it back a step. So if you buy a car that you can't afford, let's say you buy a BMW or Mercedes, and you sign a piece of paper that says you owe this every month, and you get that car. You are now beholden to the payment. And 6 months from now, what if there's a new model that you wanted, right? Like, so like you wanted, they came out with a new color, or they came out like now the BMW has full LCD screens, and they didn't have full LCD screens. But you have that debt. You have the debt payment that you've got to make now, and you do not have the optionality to be able to get the one that maybe now you want.
Yeah.
And so it's the same concept with life. Like whether it's job or a business that you think you want to start or whatever, if you make the decision today and you're not in alignment with that future self, then it's probably the wrong decision. It's probably the wrong decision. And I say that only because I've done those things in the past, and I've said, oh man, what if I just would have waited 6 months, or the new iPhone 14 model, for example. Yeah. They got all kinds of incentives to get into the new iPhone. Well, they're going to come out with a 15 next year. Yep. And you're, but you're not going to be able to get it because you're in the 14, right?
Right.
Like, so the same thing with jobs, same thing with starting businesses, same thing with educational experiences, same thing with the people that you hang out with. Are you setting yourself up to be able to make a better decision 6 or 12 months from now?
And that really comes down to being in alignment with yourself. Yeah. Knowing what it is that you want out of life. Now, I think this is probably a good time for me to ask, because I know the answer. What we do a lot of reading, right? I believe leaders are readers. I believe as entrepreneurs, we have to read. As business owners, we should be reading. Really, everybody should be reading. And I'm not talking Harry Potter, right? I think I've said that before. What would be a book that you would recommend to somebody who is trying to understand how to be in alignment with themselves and to tap into some of this?
Yeah. So I would answer that by saying does somebody know how to be in alignment with themselves? Do they even understand? Do I even understand that concept? I don't think I do fully yet. Because there's the future Corey that I see that I'm not doing the things daily that I need to do to achieve that. Now, I'm doing a lot of them, but I'm not doing all of them.
Right.
I would say that a book that has helped me with these ideas to explore more is this Supernatural book by Joe Dispenza.
Becoming Supernatural.
Becoming right? Supernatural. Yeah, by Joe Dispenza. And that is a book to me that talks about how to put yourself in a space where you can start to learn that. Mm-hmm. Who do you want to be? Yeah. And I think that most of us would like to say, yeah, I'd love to be supernatural, right? I'd love to be totally healthy. I'd love to be financially secure. I'd love to be with the person that I want to be with the rest of my life. I'd love to have a family or raise children that are contributing and that I can show them the pathway. So that book to me has been a game changer.
Yeah.
Because it dives into an area that was new to me, meditation and understanding some of the quantum realm, which I would encourage everyone to explore, and the physics behind it, the fact that an electron here can be affecting an electron across the universe.
Yeah,
is amazing to me.
The science behind it is crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. So the book Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, I've linked it down in the description below, so you guys can go ahead and pick up your copy as well. As we kind of wrap things up here, Corey, is there any final thought that you would give the would-be entrepreneur or new business owner as far as something that maybe helped you as you were going through your journey?
Yeah, for sure. First thing is always seek out expert advice. That's a given. And I would say, as you're building a team or you're looking to join a team as an entrepreneur, such as myself, that you're finding the right personality fits, that you feel aligned with the team, that you're not just jumping at the first opportunity that comes your way, that you really ask yourself, is this a team that I want to join, or is this a person that I want to hire, that is that matches where I want to go as a company. Like, so having that those extra boxes, which is so many of us are thinking paycheck, or we're thinking, oh, this is a super cool new thing. But if you're not aligned with the team and you don't feel like you can belong, it probably won't work long term. So you really got to seek out people that are aligned with you and where you're headed and your vision.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Corey. There have been so many knowledge bubbles dropped, and I really trust that you guys got a lot out of this. I know I did. Thank you so much for coming. You did a great job for your first podcast.
Oh, and it's been great.
Yeah, you got to love being able to have it in the tub and smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey. I hope you guys will join me next week. And please make sure you share this podcast out. This is something that I've heard from quite a few people has really been helping them in their mindset, trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And hopefully they'll hear this one and they'll hear that, hey, not all the information is going to come from this podcast or anywhere else on YouTube. Might be a good idea for some ideas, or a good space for some ideas. But ultimately, what they're going to find is they need to get around people. They need to have mentors and accountability in their life. So thanks again.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
Great. Thanks.